The Auburn Tigers must do something they haven't really been able to do all season against Kentucky.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We're dapping it up with the Darrell Dapprich, Montgomery, radio legend, hanging out with us as he does every single Friday. Who wins? We drop our predictions. Is Hugh Freeze safe if he wins this game? We speculate, pontificate on some potential hypotheticals, outcomes, all that good stuff. But Darrell, Auburn has to do something against Kentucky that I don't think they've done a super great job at throughout the season. And that is the offensive game plan needs to make this offense be not about the quarterback. Yes, I am pro QB change. I think Ashton Daniels should be the guy moving forward, but it doesn't matter if it's Ashton, Jackson, or Deuce. It doesn't matter. This offense is good enough to where you can make it be not about the quarterback. And that's what I want to see. I want to see a heavier emphasis on the running game, especially with Durell Robinson coming back and Omar Mabson kind of getting his feet up under him. I think that makes a ton of sense. But also, take some of these reads away, especially if it's Ashton and you're trying to bring him on, since he got here late and all that stuff. Do everything you can if you're Hugh Freeze to do everything for the players. Make this offense not about who's playing quarterback on Saturday.
Man, if I was in church, I'd say preach right now. I'd give you a big amen. I'm going to take that a little bit deeper. Not only don't make this offense about the quarterback, but I think because these are synonymous with each other, let's quit making it about the head coach too, and the play calling and his DNA and him saying at press conferences, it went against every nature of my being to stop throwing it there. And Jackson thinks like me. And that right there was a red flag that sometimes you may want to impart your own personal philosophy and force it because it's who you are. It's in your DNA. And you feel like, hey, this is what got me here, rather than setting aside ego, Zach, and being boring. This is what I hope. I hope the offense looks boring Saturday.
That'd be nice.
Feel like what? I mean, conservative, run it 30 times, gash Kentucky, throw it to keep them off balance, throw it when they load the box to take away the run, throw it when they give you fronts that dare you to throw it, take away the options. You're right. Go more straight run, more straight quarterback run, more drop back passing, roll Ashton Daniels out to his strong side. Do some different things that are a little bit more conservative but conventional. And just, again, I don't care if it's 400 yards and it's, not exciting, right? I don't care.
Yeah.
If you can gash somebody and win, by just being conservative and have a simplified game plan and taking away a lot of things to think about, then do it.
Yeah. And I want to see some level of improvement when you do pass the football. Because, look, I'm not expecting a whole lot to change. I'm just not at this point. I think they've kind of shown us who you are at this point. But I would love to see some sort of emphasis on, all right, if you do open it up and you run these passing patterns, let's have some sort of creative ways to get the ball in the hands of these playmakers. I'd love to see an offense where you use Cam Coleman, Malcolm Simmons, Eric Singleton, where you use them all. I'm not saying use them all equally, but it doesn't seem intentional after the second drive of the football game. And so I want to see an intentional offensive identity after the script runs out, because you can blame Jackson all you want, and he hasn't been great, but I don't know how much of assistance from the staff he's gotten. And I think that's going to be the push until Hugh Freeze makes the right quarterback decision. That is going to be the assumption moving forward, where, okay, it didn't work with Peyton. Okay, it didn't work with Jackson. Didn't work with Hank Brown. Didn't really work with Robbie to some extent. I mean, lesser sample size. And then, well, is it going to work with Ashton? I mean, that's where we're at.
There is a trend, right, developing.
Yeah, like, are all of those guys like inherently bad? I don't know.
So I will ask you because what I want to see offensively, similar to what you want to see, I would like to see a little bit more balance, like spreading all those guys you mentioned, getting them involved. Yes, I want to see a crisper, more efficient passing game. But to kind of make the point, I want to ask you, how many offensive plays does Auburn need to run Saturday for you to consider it successful? Give me a number that you are comfortable with, or that's a desired number.
Total plays?
Total offensive plays.
So they've been hovering between 70 and 75. So I'd say 75 to 78-ish, I think, is a realistic number. But I don't know if I care how many plays they run. So that's why I'm having a hard time like jumping in and answering the question.
I'll give you a take as to why.
Where are you going? I would say the normal amount of plays is fine. It's what you do with those plays. But where are you going?
Because if you run 50 and you hit on a couple of big plays, who cares, right? If it's a couple of 2 or 3
or
play
60
drives,
if you've got a 2-play
so let's
drive.
just go 60. Let's
Yeah.
just throw out 60. I hope, let's just say if Auburn runs 60 plays, I would love to see Auburn not throw it any more than 20 times.
That'd be wild.
A 16 of 20 for 200-yard efficient passing, or even 180 yards would be nice. And then Auburn rush it 40 for 200, right? I mean, and spread those 40 carries between Cobb, Mabson, Durell, and Ashton.
Yeah.
If Auburn does that and is disciplined enough to do that and sticks to that game plan and plays the kind of defense that I think that they will play and are capable of playing, it's no fluke now, it's a trend. Auburn could win this game going away and very comfortable.
So let's look at this real quick. So 26 passes, 47 runs against Arkansas, 42 passes, 30 runs against Missouri, 38 passes, 33 runs against Georgia, and we'll go back one more. Maybe. Nope, let's stop there. PFF said, nope, we're done there. So we've kind of seen a different level of ratio from week to week, with the most dramatic being in favor of the run last week against Arkansas, where Hugh Freeze kind of said, hey, we're going to be a little bit more conservative in the second half with Ashton. Is that because it was Ashton? Is that because of the matchup? I think we'll get a better, clearer answer to that tomorrow.
I also think it's the defense that Arkansas was in. What do they call the too high safety look that they also had against Baylor? And I would think if you would go back and look at Baylor's run to pass ratio, Auburn was very, very heavy running the ball against them. Correct? I mean, the ratio against Baylor from
that seems like just a different team. Like that seems so long.
Yeah. Two of the most successful offensive performances on the road, even though you kicked a lot of field goals.
43 rushes against Baylor, 27 passes.
See, I mean, and you won both those games on the road against Power 4 opponents. The only Power 4 opponents you beat.
Those defenses were so bad, both of them. And Arkansas, I think, defended it appropriately, which is why Auburn wasn't really able to score on a team that everyone else has been able to score against. But Baylor gave it to them, which was just a matchup decision because I think a lot of it had to do because there was so much excitement and energy about this passing game, and Baylor drank every sip of that Kool-Aid, and that's what happened. And if Dave Aranda could do that again, would they have stacked the box? Like, probably. But then again, like, he didn't adjust in the second half at all, so who knows? But yeah, I'm with you. I'd love to see in the 40s on the run, and then in the low 20s on the pass. It sounds like you're pretty simple. Well, you said less than 20 passes.
Correct, but I think the caveat on this, so what I want and what I think is going to happen are two different things.
Yeah, I bet we don't see a different offense.
Stoops is going to stack the box. Stoops is not going to be in too high safety. Stoops is going to look at what Auburn's passing attack has done and look at the potential of starting a new quarterback for his first start in a while and say, oh, I'm making him beat me in the air.
Yep.
And so I wouldn't be shocked to see the ratios go back to what they were before and Auburn be forced to throw it 30, 35 times because of what Stoops takes away.
That needs to be the game plan if you're Kentucky. Absolutely. That needs to be the game plan. There's a narrative of like Hugh Freeze coaching for his job, and we've done a few segments on that this week. I don't know. Let's kind of poke a few holes in that. Let's purposely, intentfully try to poke some holes in that. That's next right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Mazda. Mazda's moving the game forward for those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board, Darrell. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. I'm going to shout out Jeremiah Cobb here because I think what he's been able to do when he's given a large sample size has been nothing short of just absolute production. So he's my Mazda moving the game forward. What say you?
Pleasant. It's hard to not go against Xavier Atkins, but Rashad Pleasant did it on special teams. Underrated aspect of that football game is how the momentum completely flipped before halftime, and his kickoff return got Auburn in completely great field position to immediately get points coming out of the second half. That was a very underrated play of that football game, and then we know what he did after that as well.
When you follow what moves you, the unexpected, it's only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Alumni Hall. Alumni Hall is where I get everything, Auburn. It is where I got this quarter zip that I'm wearing right now. It doesn't matter who it's for. Look, hey, Christmas is here. Like Christmas shopping. Like we're starting to have that conversation as a family. Who's getting what? Alumni Hall, you can knock out a lot of stuff for the Auburn fan in your life, Darrell Dapprich.
Holiday shopping, Christmas shopping, perfect. Again, we know tomorrow it is going to be cold. So if you haven't gotten any cold weather gear yet, and that kickoff is going to be, 58 degrees by the time the game's over, 42 degrees, go get you some cold weather stuff at Alumni Hall tomorrow.
Yeah, and if you are cold at the game and you see Darrell walking around, you can just say, hey, I heard about this offer on Locked On Auburn, and he will hug you and hold you and warm you up for a few minutes. Alumni Hall, 3 great physical locations in Auburn, Opelika, and Huntsville, and of course online at alumnihall.com. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. You know how I sped up. I didn't let you respond.
Well, because I was going to say, let's not combine that with any other of the ads that we've ever done on this show before that you had to take me off camera. We'll just leave it at that. Because that could be a little awkward.
What was our second? All right. So there's starting to be more and more chatter about Hugh Freeze, and I can't tell. Well, there's more chatter about, like, no matter what he does, like John Cohen is fighting to keep Hugh Freeze, positioned to keep Hugh Freeze. And like, obviously there's a few caveats to that. Like if you lose to Kentucky, I don't think you can survive. If you lose to Mercer, I don't think you can survive. And if Auburn goes 6-6, like what is Cohen's angle there? Or are you all in on if he could beat Vanderbilt and that's kind of going to be, the flag that you plant on top of the hill? I'm not sure if this is my first question. Just quick, yes or no. Are you hearing this too?
Yeah, I'm hearing absolutes, and I want to address those, but go ahead.
Yeah, yes. And I can't tell because it's coming from people who have nailed it with some of our sourcing in the past. They've been awesome. And I can't tell if it's like fueled by panic or if it's some sort of like deep-seated like reverse psychology, or maybe it's what they actually want, depending on who you're hearing this from. But I think if the decision has been I don't think there's any way the decision to keep him no matter what has been made. There's no way, right?
Well, I think one of the things too that you need to touch on is if this narrative is out there, it's to keep the roster. We have seen across college football, especially if someone thinks they're going to be playing for somebody different next year, people could jump in the portal. And this could be a ploy just to keep this roster intact so that people play out the rest of the year, because you still have a chance to win 3 or 4 more games and have a decent year. So when I say people deal in absolutes, right now I'm hearing either Freeze's job is safe, even if he was to go 6-6. They don't want to get out into a coaching search and the competition that's out there, yada, yada, yada. Then I hear the other side of that, and I hear the other side of some pretty good sources that say, other than Hugh Freeze winning out, he's gone. I feel like anytime you deal in absolutes, the answer always lies somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So there's so many there's so many narratives and there's so many variables of this that could happen. We don't know, because we can't look into the future, into a crystal ball, and say what's going to happen against. So does him beating Kentucky and getting to 5 wins save his job? Heck no, because you still got to play Vandy, Mercer, and Alabama. And what if you were to lose 2 of those 3 and go 6-6? I
think 6-6. I've said this before. I think I've said it with you, and you didn't push back. But I'm saying 6-6 is the most realistic outcome right now.
I'm saying it is, but I'm also don't, and I can see that scenario.
I'm not conceding the Vandy game. I'm not conceding the Iron Bowl. I'm just saying, if you played the odds, if the rest of the season got simulated 200 times, I think the most common outcome right now would be 6-6.
And 6-6 at the beginning of this year would be no way, a measurement acceptable for Hugh Freeze to keep his job. I said at 7-5, it's not. I feel like there was a number that this administration and these boosters and this board looked at and said, with the amount of money that was spent on this roster, he better win at least this many, or we're making a change. And I don't care how you get there. And that many, in my opinion, is 8 wins. To get to 8 wins, you have to win out. And
John Cohen,
I don't think he's safe.
John Cohen not putting out a statement of confidence, while other 80s throughout college football who were in kind of a similar spot have him not doing that, I think is telling. And that's why
I'm not commenting about the offense.
Right.
Specifically.
And Cohen, and this is going to sound negative, I promise it's not. I actually mean it positively. Cohen does not shy away from being in the spotlight, whether it comes to, making himself available to us at media days, the night before, or, hopping on the radio broadcast, whatever it might be. John Cohen does not shy away from this. And so if there was an opportunity for him to kind of put out that statement of good faith, I think he'd do it. I think if he really wanted to back Freeze publicly, I think he would do it. Darrell, am I off on saying that?
No, he's bold and he's outspoken. We saw what he did at halftime on the field, which a lot of athletic directors don't do, when he got in Williams and stuff. We know, according to soft candy cane Terry McCulley, that he allegedly got Williamson fired. We know that he had enough stroke and enough presence to make a complaint to the SEC office that they listened. We know that everybody got through interviewing Butch Thompson and Hugh Freeze at an ambush event, and he walks to the table into the microphone and says, "Hey, I'm available if anybody wants to ask me any questions."
Yeah, we're on.
Okay, let's go. As transparent as can be. When you come out after a win, that you're happy you get a win on the road in the SEC, and your first point of contact or a lot of your comments are pointed at, "I'm not happy with the offense," telling, very telling. So again, we're dealing in absolutes. Could his mind be changed if he saw Auburn go on a great run, beat Kentucky, beat Vandy, beat Mercer, and win the Iron Bowl? Absolutely, as it should.
Yeah,
as it should. Now, how does that look? I don't know. If you have a lot of games that are 10-6, 17-11, I don't know. Again, that's because there's different
if you win
variables.
Every game left, you got to keep them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you beat a top team on the road. I mean, we'll see if Vandy wins or loses to Texas. That'll impact their ranking, of course. And then obviously Alabama will be a top 5 team, we assume, when they come to town. It's okay. If you beat those teams, that'd be insane. That'd be great. And then you keep them. I still think you have some sort of sit down with Freeze where it's like the offense isn't good under you anymore, and that has to change.
Give up play calling. Go get the offensive coordinator with the money you saved on not having to pay his buyout.
Yep.
Go get the best offensive coordinator money can buy. Tell him you're a CEO and quit calling plays, and let's build upon.
And if you could keep the roster, like all of a sudden, like I feel decent about it. In that scenario, we'll see what happens. I don't think that scenario is the most likely scenario, but I do think it's one of the many that could happen. Who wins tomorrow? We tell you next, right here on Locked on Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. I can't imagine wagering anywhere else other than with our friends at FanDuel. Darrell, right now, Auburn a big favorite against Kentucky. They've been a favorite by 10.5 for pretty much the entire week. I'm confirming that number has not moved. It has moved. Auburn now an 11.5 point favorite against Kentucky as we record this late Thursday. We'll see exactly what happens. I guess today and
music to my ears when you hear my pick.
Yeah, mine's been sitting at 10-ish, so this kind of gives you a little bit of room. But
validation.
Hey, you can bet $5 if your first $5 bet hits. You get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it matters most. Let's break that down. I'll give it to Cam Coleman. We didn't mention Cam Coleman earlier. I'll give it to Cam Coleman, who scored Auburn's only offensive touchdown. I would say he delivered, presented by DoorDash.
I'm going with Ellis, the 17-year-old center. Comes in, makes his first start, and plays really, really well. That's a hard thing to do on the road like that, and he did. And credit to him.
Yep, that's a good one. And just like Kel Ellis and Cam Coleman deliver for the Auburn Tigers, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Thank you so much for making Locked on Auburn your first listen every single day. I've said this pick a few times throughout the week, and I've adjusted it. But what I said yesterday with Lance, I think, is what I'm sticking with. Darrell, Auburn 23, Kentucky 13 is my score prediction.
That was mine, and I changed it 2 days ago. And when I changed it, I feel validated and justified because FanDuel went up a point. So I'm going 24-13.
Okay.
Auburn.
Yeah, I think 24-13 was my original pick, and I changed it because I don't trust Auburn's red zone offense, and so there's going to be field goals. So I think it'll be more than one field goal by Alex McPherson. So that's why I went away from the 24 overall. Look, we've talked a lot about the offense throughout the week, and the defense, I think, is what's going to allow Auburn to win this game, which is sad because Kentucky stinks, but the defense is going to keep Auburn's offense in this. I think whichever team scores 20 wins this football game, and I think Auburn is more likely to score 20 against Kentucky's defense than Kentucky's offense is against Auburn's defense. I think I said that right.
Yeah, and when you compare the stats side by side, Kentucky averages 18 points a game. Yeah. Auburn has been, on average, I think 11 points, holding their opponents to 11 points lower than their average score, their average score, points scored. So just under that scenario, my goodness, they would only get, 7 points, Kentucky would. But I think that, a little bit of a change of a trend. They get a few more field goals. Auburn holds them in the teens, 13. I see a scenario where you're right about the red zone, but I think there could be a play in Auburn where they score outside the red zone. Something like a 30-yard pass.
That's what happened with Cam last week, right?
25-yard run, Cobb breaks free, whatever. Is there another defensive touchdown in this game? Perhaps, the way this secondary is playing, a strip sack, the way this linebacker core is playing. So, Yeah, I feel really, really good about 24-13. I really do. I feel pretty strong about that.
Yeah. Who is it on offense? Says, okay, that's the offensive player of the game. You can't say Jeremiah Cobb.
Singleton. Bless you.
You think he's going to be like Ashton's guy?
He's going to be like a Swiss Army knife. They're going to use him over the middle. They're going to use him on screens. They're going to use him on jet sweeps. Yes, I see that being a scenario where he gets a lot of targets. And I just don't think Coleman's 100%. And I think they're going to run him out there. And maybe or maybe not, Kentucky still shades to that side. But I think there's a lot to be had over the middle with Singleton. And we saw right away when Ashton decided to go deep, who he went deep to.
Yeah. Now, granted, Cam wasn't, ready to go when Ashton was there, but that was great placement. And then, great by Singleton to go up and snag it. So I don't think it's a bad guess. I don't think it's a bad guess at all. I've said this every week. I'm eventually going to be right. I'm going to go with Malcolm Simmons, especially if Cam Coleman is limited. Do they try to do more things to Malcolm Simmons or Perry Thompson? I think one of those guys who's not a top 2 receiver for this Auburn offense makes a statement, whether it's Malcolm or Perry. I think it'll be one of those guys has a good game.
I could see a scenario where Perry steps up and has a sneaky good game. My reservations about Malcolm is because he appeared on the injured list as questionable. Yeah. So I don't know what that translates to Saturday.
Yeah, I want to see another receiver step up. And also, you got to ask, who does Ashton have rapport with? That matters.
I heard Brandon Frazier and him have a really good rapport. I'm being serious as far as from a tight end standpoint. And I would have, Brandon's been pretty reliable when you've thrown him the ball. He's made some good catches. Now he's healthy again. So that could be something to look for.
What would you say about more targets to Preston Howard? All right. How can people check out everything you've got going on?
Follow me on X, DAP6410. Hopefully you guys watched the basketball live we did last night.
That was fun.
With the exhibition.
Yes.
And then I'll jump in Saturday at halftime on the Barncast. You guys watch that live. And then, of course, our reaction show from the press box that drops Sunday morning.
Yes. Please like the video. Please subscribe, and we'll see you next time. This has been Locked on Auburn.